blades. You can wear leather gloves if you want, but if you're actually careful, you don't need to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bundle of grasses, I'm going to reach down, I'm going to gently just place my hand around the bundle, I'm going to give it a little twist so I know where my bundle is at, and I'm actually going to be using this saw. A serrated edge works very well on the grasses. If you use your razor sharp skinning knife, you will dull the blade after just a few bundles. A good serrated edge works well. These are just some cheap sheetrock saws that help us expedite the process when we're trying to gather large quantities. So once you get down here, do that little twist, then you're going to carefully, making sure your toes are out of the way, just sort of saw right through the bundle. Lay your string across the ground, and then you're going to lay your grasses all going in the same direction. You're just going to lay it right in the middle until you have a bundle that you can put your legs around like this. So you can have a nice giant bundle.
Another preparatory piece we need to do is create what I call twine balls. And what you do is you take your cordage. If you don't know how to get quick cordage in the out of doors, go ahead and refer to our cordage videos for that. But you find the center of your cordage. I have a piece that's roughly 3 body lengths, so I'm going to go 1 body length and then half a body length. Find the center, and I mark it with a slip knot. This makes thatching so much easier because you're not chasing the ends of your lines every time you tie a new bundle on. Then go back to one of the ends and just start winding it into like a ball of yarn. So you get to the center. Do the same thing with the other end. Now all you have to do is take your bundles, bend them over and in place, tie the first one to one of your vertical uprights here, one of these arches, make it nice and tight. Rest your twine balls on top of that bundle, get another bundle, and then they're already there for you to keep tying. It goes a lot faster this way. Prep time in making these twine bundles is maybe half an hour. You'll be chasing ends and trying to find them in piles of grass for a lot longer than that if you don't make these first. Before we put our grasses on each of these hoops that we're going to lash, the hoops are going to be lashed about 1/3 the overall length of our grasses. And we're going to figure out 1/3 by taking a medium-sized grass and just placing our end here and slide up our clove hitch, and then we're ready to start square lashing. There are 2 parts to square lashing, and this is the easiest and the funnest part of lashing. The first part are wraps, and the second part are fraps. Wraps are, did you ever do God's eyes when you were in like summer camp as a kid with popsicle sticks and yarn? That's pretty much what you're doing. You're going up and around, and neatness counts with lashing. So you want to be side by side, but every time you turn a corner, pull tight. For as many wraps as you have, you put half the amount of fraps. Does everyone understand that? Okay, and notice how I'm going the same way. I'm tracing my steps over and over again. And that's because lashings rely on friction, which is why the neatness thing counts. Okay, so I've got 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm just going to finish up so I have 4 on the downside here. And now I'm ready for my fraps. This is the magic. This is what tightens this. In fact, you can make a ladder, and these are, if you do this right, you're able to walk up on top of them. Okay. So now the fraps, they go in between the 2 sticks. Let me get some slack here. Again, see how I'm having to manage all of this? Again, if you have those little balls of twine in each end, you don't have to worry. So, I'm going to go in between and pull tight. Can you hear that cinching? Listen. Hear that? Every time you turn a corner. So I had 4, all I need is 2, and I got my 2. And from there, I'm going to tie off again. I like to start and end my clove hitches or my knots underneath, because that's where all the force is going to want to rest. Okay, so that gives me more friction to support this whole thing. Just going to put my fingers and make a little gap so I can tuck underneath. I don't want to lose any tension here. Okay, and then pull tight. Again, if you don't know clove hitch, just do a lot of those. 3 or 4 of them will do it. Okay, these are called half hitches, by the way. Just tuck underneath and pull tight. And all I'm doing is I'm carving towards the center. Yeah. Now, when you pound that steak in, it won't start to mushroom out on you. Okay? Just something simple.
Never knew that. That's awesome.
Broke my thumper. There, see how there's no mushrooming out on that from all that pounding? You know, it's just because you taper the edge. Now I'm just going to do a square lashing
okay.
from here to here, just because
that's right, too.
it's such a shallow hole and it would pop out. And to prevent that, just when you dig, if you do hit a root or a rock, just go from one side to the next until you find an opening. So once you catch your tourist in the tourist trap, make sure he doesn't sneak out of the
I found it. All right.
My bundles are usually overlapping thumb thickness, and that's when they're compressed. And the reason we compress them is because we want these bundles to be tight, not only to shed water, to shed rain, but to shed wind as well. You can see that the hoop is about 1/3 the overall length of our grasses. In this case, these grasses are a little taller, which is great. You want them taller rather than shorter. We're going to lay it over the top of the hoop so that it's like a shingle and sheds water, and then crack it. And if you're familiar with any climbing technologies, we're basically creating a munter hitch. And what I like to do with this end is either jam it into the vertical or the grass bundle prior to it, the grass bundle you just tied in. And then I shove that in nice and tight. And this is where those tinder balls come in handy, or the twine balls come in handy. We're not chasing after ends. We're just opening, tying nice and tight, and then setting those twine balls on top of our grass. So I'm going to tie just a simple overhand knot or square knot, depending on how secure you want it to be. Okay, there we go. And then set these both on end here. We're ready to get our other grasses, and it's easy to find our string, which can blend into our grass when we start getting lots of bundles in here. The best time to harvest grasses, at least in Maine, this part of Maine, would be maybe mid-August into early November. After November, they get really brittle, and before now, they're green and they're really heavy. And what tends to happen is, as they dry, your lashings get loose and flimsy. Our last bit is to put a series of grass mats, kind of like a cone of grass mats, over the top to plug that last squarish hole. We can secure these to those frame pieces, those peak arches that create that square piece in the middle, and we should be done after that on the exterior. In the interior, we're going to raise this door with a hoop so it looks like an igloo door, and then we're going to come inside. We're going to create a raised bed with forked sticks paralleling the wall. And on that bed, we're going to put a grass mat. We'll use sticks that are just thick enough to support our body and lay them across like a barbecue grill. And we'll leave one end open so we can create a trap door for storage. And we can put stuff underneath our bed. Having a raised bed gives us the advantage of capturing the heat that's going to radiate from our hot rocks in our hot rock pit.